Yes, Shepherd. Yes, yes. Okay, I'm gonna see. Otherwise, Mr. Jumat have to take the machine back. I'm gonna phone you back now. I'm gonna see now. Okay, what can we do? Okay, I'm coming there now. Okay, right now. Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. So we were still discussing a very, very interesting masla about the four rakats, nafil namaz, where you have to make qira'at in all three rakats, all four rakats. You have to recite Surah Fatiha and you have to recite the Surah. So the scenarios that came out of this year is if you never make qira'at in any one of the particular, if you never make qira'at in any one of the, any one of the particular rakats, what is the outcome? So there were 16 scenarios, and we discussed certain usul that if you go through these usul, inshallah, if you go through these usul, then it will be from the different imams, you will be able to understand the masala very easily, right? So if you remember correctly, we said according to Imam Hanifa, even if you make in one rakat, the tahrima does not become batil, right? According to Imam Yusuf, even if you make in no rakats, the tahrima doesn't become batil. According to Imam Muhammad, if you make in one, you must make the kirat in both. If you don't make in both, then the tahrima becomes batil, right? You understood that. Once you got that clear, then inshallah the masala will become very, very clear to you. Where we stopped yesterday, can you show me where we stopped?
عند أبي حنيفة ترك القراءة في الأوليين يوجب بطلان التقرير وإحداهما لا يوجب وإن
Muzammil? Okay, so Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So, okay, you're saying that the next scenario, okay, well, okay, let's look at before that. Let's just start before that day so we can follow, we can come up to speed with it. Okay, وإن بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, reading from here. وإن أبي حنيفة ترك قراءته في الأوليين يوجب بطلان تحريمته, يوجب بطلانه. So according to Abu Hanifa, if وإن ترك قراءته في الأوليين, if you let out قراءة in both the first and the second rakat, يوجب بطلان التحريمة, it means the tahrima becomes batil. Why? Because it becomes batil. So this is a scenario. A person said Allahu Akbar, right? He never read anything in the first rakat. He never read anything in the second rakat. Then maybe the third rakat and the fourth rakat, he may be read in both rakats. But either way, we'll say none of the rakats are valid. Why will say none of the rakats are valid? We'll say because here, the second rakat or the third rakat and the fourth rakat, although it is separate rakat, but it needs a takbir tahrima. When he made takbir tahrima and he never recites in the first rakat and he never recites in the second rakat as though he was standing idle. So it means that takbir tahrima was standing alone. It was not joined to a salah, so it became invalid. It was not succeeded by a valid rakat. So that takbir tahrima became batil. It became batil. And if it became batil, the third rakat and the fourth rakat, even though it was valid, but it didn't have a takbirat tahrima to be premised on, to be based upon. You understood that? That's what he's saying. I'll repeat again. وَإِنَّ أَبِي حَنِيفَةَ أقول حنيفة ترك قراءتي في الأوليين, if you leave قراءة in both of the first two rakats, يوجب بطلان تحريمتي, it makes wajib the avoiding of the tahrima, right? Now, وفي إحداهما لا يجب. So let's look at this scenario here. In the first two rakats, either you make Qiraat in the first rakat or the second rakat, one of them, or either the second rakat or the first rakat, and then you made in the third rakat and the fourth rakat. So what the Imam Walifa say, look here, because each two rakats are separate, the first two rakats is void because you never make Qiraat in both, and we know you have to make Qiraat in all. So the first two rakats is void. But your takbir tahrima is still valid. Why? Because we told you Imam Hanifa said, according to some ulama, in the two rakat namaz, if you make kirat in one rakat, it's still valid. So where some ulama say that it's valid, we can't say it's totally batil. So we'll say that although we say the rakats are not valid, but the tahrima is still valid. So the tahrima is valid. So that tahrima can suffice for the third rakat and the fourth rakat, which has been done correctly, which it has a it has his قراءة in it, right? وفي إحداهما, and in one of them too, he left it out. لا يجيب, it does not make budlan of the third and fourth rakat. Why? لأن كل شفعة من الطويل صلاة على حدة, because every two rakats is a separate, and here the second two rakats has been not affected, and also the tahrima has not been affected. That will be correct. لأن كل شفعة من التطوي, right? صلاة على حدة, it is a separate two rakats, right? Right. وفسادها بترك القراءة في وقت واحد مجتهد فيه, and the voiding or the corruption of leaving قراءة in one rakat, وفسادها بترك القراءة في وقت واحد مجتهد فيه, مجتهد فيه. Someone else is permissible, not permissible. So when something is مجتهد فيه, we cannot make it the تحريمات total باطل, right? فقضينا بالفساد في حق وجوب القضاء. So we will say that yes, that two rakats are not valid because you're supposed to have قراءة in one, so that the rakats are not valid, but وحكمنا ببقاء التحريمة, but we say the tahrima is still valid. There's just a few surahs we're going to do, and after we finish this two surahs, there's a very interesting masala that comes after this about when it's permissible to sit and read namaz, when it's not permissible to sit and read namaz. So we just need to cover this here. As I said, maybe it seems a bit laborious. It seems maybe a bit like all the surahs. Why are we doing all these surahs in so much detail? And why are we discussing the first with the surahs are so much? I told you altogether there's 16 surahs. But if you look at what the kitab is mentioned ambiguously, so it covers all 16 surahs. And then also besides that, there's ikhtilaf between all the three imams. They also having ikhtilaf in it, and each one got his own reasoning, and we're covering all of that. But as I said, it may seem a bit laborious, it may seem a bit, I don't want to use the word irrelevant because nothing is irrelevant, but as I said, you will learn so many usul from the process. You will be sharp, you learn so right. So وحكمنا ببقاء التحريمة, but after this is a very interesting masail about sitting and reading, right? وحكمنا ببقاء التحريمة, so we ruled with the validity of the tahrima في حق لزوم الشفع الثاني, with regards to the second shafa, because the second shafa is separate, it's got qiraat in both, and the tahrima is valid, right? So when you've understood these usul properly, إذا ثبت هذا, we can say now, we can understand all the different usuls. نقول إذا لم يقرأ في الكل. For example, a person, he made 4 rakats namaz, right? And he never recited any one of the rakats. I don't know what happened to him, what he decided to read 4 rakats namaz, and he never makes qiraat in every 4, right? إذا لم يقرأ في الكل قضاء ركعتين, you will only have to make 2 rakats qadha. Why do you have to make 2 rakats qadha? Because look here, I'll give you the reason first. When he made takbir tahrima, he started 2 rakats. So 2 rakats become lazim upon him, right? So 2 rakats become lazim. So that's why 2 rakats become lazim. So when he finishes 2 rakats without qiraat and he wanted to go into the second 2 rakats, we'll say that he never go into the second 2 rakats because his tahrima was batil. So as though he never entered the second 2 rakats. So if he never, because lazima naflu bi shuru'ihi, nafil becomes lazim when you start it. So he never started the second 2 rakats. So the second 2 rakats will not become lazim because he never started. But just the first 2 will come lazim because he started with the takbir tahrima. You understood that? So see there. So إذا ثبت هذا نقول إذا لم يقرأ في الكل, he never recite anything in the whole salah, قضاء ركعتين, you will make قضاء of 2 rakats. That is only the first 2 إنهما, لأن التحريمة قد بطلت بترك القراءة, because his tahrima became batil by leaving out the بطل بترك القراءة, right? right في الشف الأولي because he never made قراءة in the first two rakats التكبيرة التحريمة became باطل فلم يصح الشروع في الثاني. So by not making it قراءة the تحريمة became باطل, and since it became باطل we say the second two rakats had no leg to start off even. So it's right right. وبقيت in Abu Yusuf, according to Abu Yusuf, remember Abu Yusuf said that even if you leave Kirat out, the Tahrima doesn't become batil. Remember, even if you leave it in both rakats, so according to him, you have to make, as though you started in the first two rakats, yes, you have to make a vow of that. And because the Tahrima was still valid, as though you started in the second two rakats, so you also have to make a vow of that. You understand that? So because يعني وبقيت التحريمة عند أبي يوسف فصح الشروع في الثاني, so as though he started in the second shafa ثم أفسد الكل, and then so you started in the first shafa by making the takbir tahrima, and also you started in the second one because the tahrima was still valid, so as though you started two shufas and you never completed it properly, so you have to make qada of all four, both shufas, right? ثم إذا أفسد الكل بترك قراءته فيه فعليه قضاء الأربع عنده. So that is upon him is making قضاء of four altogether, right? You got that, right? Next surah, ولو قرأ في الأوليين لا غيره. He only recited surah and surah Fatih surah in the first two rakats, right? ولو قرأ في الأوليين, and he never recited in the third rakat, in the fourth rakat. فعليه قضاء الأخريين. That's pretty simple. The takbirat yahrima, he made it, so the first two became valid, and he done the kirat, the surah, so that is done, no problem. He's executed it. But now when he stood up for the third rakat, because the takbirat yahrima was valid, it was not voided because he did read the kirat. It was not voided. So he started, but he never recited anything. So he corrupted it. So after starting corrupting something, after you starting it, you have to make qadha, right? That's pretty simple. This is according to all the Imams, right? There's no difference of opinion there. Because you get all those sources for there. And he said, لأن التحريمة, because the tahrima لم تبطل. It never become batil because he recited, he made qiraat in the first rakat, in the second rakat. فصح الشروع في الشفع الثاني. So he's starting the second shafa is 100% correct. And he never do it because he never recited the surah and the qiraat. So it became batil, right? ثم فساده, so the fasad is بترك القراءة, by leaving out the qiraat in the third and fourth rakat. So لا يجيب فساد الشفع الأول, and this will not affect the first shafa because the first shafa was done. You made your tahrima, you recited the first rakat, you recited the second rakat, that was done, and then you stood up for the third rakat, and we said the namaz is all separately, right? Next surah, ولو قرأ في الأخريين لا خير. This person, what he done, he started the four rakat namaz, he recited nothing in the first rakat, no surah Fatiha. In the second rakat, no surah Fatiha, right? وَلَوْ قَرَأَ فِي الْأُخْرَيَيْنِ. But the third rakat, he done properly surah and surah Fatiha and surah, and in the fourth rakat, the scenario, وَلَوْ قَرَأَ فِي الْأُخْرَيَيْنِ. He recited in the second two rakat, right? لا غير, not in the first and the second. فعليه قضاء الأولين بالإجماع. So we will say, what we'll say here, that the second two rakats are not valid. Why? Because when you never recite in the first two rakats, the first two rakats became fasid. And if the first two rakats became fasid, it means the takbir tahrima became batil. So that second two rakats, although the second two rakats got his kirat, but there was no takbir tahrima. So the second two rakats, although it got all the criteria with it, but it was voided because the takbir tahrima became batil when he never recited in the first rakat and the second rakat. Are you with me? Then he have to make, so the second rakat and the third rakat is void because it had no takbir tahrima. Then he has to make qadha of the first rakat and the second rakat because he voluntarily started a nafil namaz and he never completed properly because he never recited in the first rakat and the second rakat. So لأن عندهما, so why according to him لم يصح الشروع في الشفع الثاني, we will say that he never entered into the second shafa, right? لأن لم يصح الشروع, so we say so he's saying, see there, so the second two not become, it does not become, there's no need to make qadha on it, as though he never entered in because there's no takbir tahrima, so just become void. And now because he started the first two, he make qadha of them, right? right? So وإن أبو يوسف صح وإن أبو يوسف إن what you got there وإن أبو يوسف صح you got not what إن أبو يوسف إن صح no just صح وإن أبو يوسف إن صح فقد أداهما. According to Imam Abu Yusuf, remember what he said. According to Imam Yusuf, the second two, it's the same scenario. The first two rakats was there was no kirat, right? And the third and the fourth he made. So according to Imam Abu Yusuf, the third rakat and the fourth rakat will be valid. Why? Because remember he said, Imam Yusuf said that even if you make karat in no rakats, that tahrima doesn't become batil. And you remember what was his proof? Like how a dumb person, when he reads salah, he makes no kirat, but his tahrima doesn't become batil. And the other example also we gave, like a person that was making salah, and then his wudu broke, he went to make wudu, he came back, he had no kirat, or his kirat was separated, still his tahrima is valid. So same thing Imam Yusuf says, yeah, his tahrima is valid, his tahrima is 100% valid. Although the rakats, the first two rakats are not valid, but the tahrima is valid, so the second two rakats will be valid nafal namaz, right? So saha, in saha faqad addahuma, if it is correct, he's done it properly, right? That is, we're almost finished now, inshallah. ولو قرأ في الأوليين وإحدى الأخريين. Look at the scenario. He made kirat in the first rakat and he made kirat in the second rakat, right? وإحدى الأخريين. He made kirat in either the first, the third one, or the fourth one. So he made kirat in three rakats, first rakat and second rakat, or either the third one or either the fourth one. Both scenarios, right? فعليه قضاء الأخريين بالإجماع. According to all the ulama, all you have to do is make qada of the last two. Why? The first two is 100% correct. He made the takbirat tahrima is found, and the first rakat has got qiraat, the second rakat has got qiraat. He done it properly, and so when he stood up to do the third rakat, because his tahrima was valid, his tahrima was not voided because the first two rakats are sahih, not fasid. So he started in the second two rakats and he never completed it. So lazima nafu bi shuru'i. So he has to complete the second two rakats, right? And this is according to all the ulama, according to usul is no difference, right? Let's look at the next one. وَلَوْ قَرَأَ فِي الْأُخْرَيَيْنِ. He recited in the third rakat, in the fourth rakat, properly Surah Fatiha and the Surah, right? وإحدى الأولى, and he said one of the first rakats, either the first rakat or the second rakat, doesn't make a difference. See, I told you this is two surahs already, but if Messiah explains one, there's two. You recite in the first rakat, third and fourth, or you recite in the second rakat and third and fourth, right? Right, by now already I'm sure you can work the math out yourself. ولو قرأ في الأخريين. He recited in both the second rakat, right? وإحدى الأوليين, and in one of the first rakats, فعليه قضاء الأوليين بالإجماع. Then he has to make qada of the first two according to all the imams. Why? Because look here, we say, so we say he'll have to make qada upon only of the first two. Why have to make qada of the first two? According to Imam Hanifa, because he recited in one rakat, his takbirat tahrima is valid. So the second two rakats are valid. The second two rakats are valid. So, and this one here, it is incomplete. One rakat doesn't have qada, so you have to make the first two rakats, right? According to Imam Yusuf, he said whether you recite in one rakat or no rakat, the takbir tahrima still stands, and I gave you the proof. So even if you say the first two rakats are invalid, the takbir tahrima is still there. According to Imam Muhammad, what he says here, look here, because you never recite in the first rakat or the second rakat, that means your takbir tahrima became invalid. So the second two rakats are totally void. Even if you recited there, it's totally void. And so you never start them. And the first two rakats, you started them. So lazim and naflu bi shuru'i, you understood? Right. Now look at this. وَلَوْ قَرَأَ فِي إِحْدَى الْأُولَيَيْنِ. He recited in one of the first two rakats, وَإِحْدَى الْأُخْرَيَيْنِ, or in one of the two second rakats. So there's two scenarios. He made kirat in the first rakat and in the third rakat. Or you made rakat in the second rakat and the fourth rakat. Or in the second rakat and the first rakat. Or either way, actually there's four scenarios here. What are they? There's four scenarios in this ibarat here. You recite it in one of the first shufah and in one of the second shufah, right? Right, so you understood it. So it's either first rakat, second rakat, or first rakat, third rakat, or either second rakat, third rakat, or second rakat, fourth rakat. You understood it? So, um, There's a scenario. ولو قرأ في إحدى الأوليين, he recited in one of the first two rakat, وإحدى الأخريين, or one of the second. على قول أبي يوسف قضاء الأربع كرائد أبي حنيفة. So according to Imam Yusuf, he says, remember he said, whether you leave one rakat out or two rakats, the tahrima is still valid. So that means the tahrima is still valid for the second two rakats, and you never completed it. So you have to make qada of that. The tahrima is valid for the first two rakats, and you never completed. You only made kirat one rakat, so you have to make qada of all four. Imam Hanifa said, look here, even if you make one rakat, you make kirat in one rakat, you make kirat, then the tahrima doesn't become batil. So the tahrima, the tahrima is valid. You started off, you made two rakats, you never recite in one rakat, so obviously it wasn't done properly, so you have to make qada of that. And then because the tahrima is still valid, because you made the qiraat in one rakat, you successfully went into the second rakat, but your second shufa, or into the second two rakat, because you never completed nicely, so now you will have to make qada of that because you started and you never completed right. There's a reasoning. لأن التحريم باقية, because according to both Imam Hanifa and according to Imam Yusuf, the tahrima is still valid because Imam Abu Hanifa said, look, you had your one rakat and that kept it valid. And Imam Yusuf said, even if you didn't have one rakat, your no rakat is still valid. Right? وَإِنَّ مُحَمَّدٍ قَضَاءُ الْأُولَيَيْنِ. Imam Muhammad said, you don't have to make qada of the first two. Why? Because when you started and you make kirat in one rakat, first rakat, that means that salat is not valid. And if that salat is not valid, means that the tahrima is not valid. So that means you never even start the second. You never start the second shufa. So if you never start the second shufa, it doesn't become wajib upon you, right? You understood that? وإن محمد قضاء العليم لأن التحريم قد ارتفع إنه. Right. So alhamdulillah, that brings us to the end. I'm sure by now we've done it so much that you can actually understand the usul. By now I know the usul. We've done it discussions so much. We discussed the usul. I'm sure you've already memorized the usul. So now, to understand the next ibarat, I just need to explain something I explained to you before already, but for the benefit of those that are not at us. Remember, I told you, Zahirul Riwayat is the main books of the Hanafi madhab, right? It is that which Imam Muhammad had from Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Yusuf, and he recorded it, right? So there are six Zahiri riwayat, although it's just new research I saw now, but okay, I won't go into that. They say the Zahiri riwayat is five books. Al-Asl, Jaimus Sahir, Jami'ul Kabir, Siyar Kabir, and Siyar Sahir, and Ziyadat. These six books. So these six books, was authored by Imam Muhammad. Now, in these books, Imam Muhammad has recorded Imam Abu Hanifa's opinion, he's recorded Imam Yusuf's opinion, and he's recorded his own opinion, right? Now, there are other books also written by other students of Imam Hanifa, Hassan bin Ziyad, Zufar bin Zuhair, etc., etc. Now, inshallah, if you do the Mufti course, you'll see they'll tell you that the Zahir Riwayat, or the other name is called the Usul, they get precedence in the madhab. So if another student of Imam Hanifa, like Hassan bin Ziyad, Zufar bin Zuhair, he said Imam Hanifa said this, and Imam Muhammad says in his book, no, Imam Hanifa said, we'll give preference to the opinion of Imam Muhammad because he was the closest student to Imam Hanifa and he spent more time with Imam Hanifa. Are you with me? So the default ruling is that the fatwa is normally on the Zahir Riwayat. Yes, sometimes the fatwa changes. That you do when you do iftar, inshallah. Sometimes you give fatwa on. So what is the Zahir Riwayat? It was called the Nawadir. The Nawadir means all the books besides the Zahir Riwayat. Sometimes there is where the ulama give fatwa on the Nawadir because there's a need for it. But the default ruling is fatwa is always on the Zahir Riwayat, right? So now Imam Muhammad recorded the opinions of Imam Hanifa, Imam Yusuf, and Imam Muhammad in his books, right? Now, in the next text, Imam Hanifa, Imam Yusuf said this is the opinion of Imam Hanifa as is recorded in this kitab. But Imam Yusuf objected. He said, no, this is not the opinion of Imam Hanifa. But Imam Muhammad never accepted. He maintained, no, this is what I heard about Imam Hanifa is the correct thing. You understood what happened there? So basically, in the next text, what they're saying, there was a bit of an ikhtilaf between Imam Muhammad and Imam Hanifa. As the last masla is explained in Kitab, the last masla, ولو قرأ في إحدى الأوليين وإحدى الأخريين على قول أبي يوسف قضاء الأربع وكذا إن أبي حنيفة. Right? So, that opinion there, as it's explained there, Imam Muhammad maintains this is how it is. This is the opinion of Imam Hanifa. But Imam Yusuf say, no, the point is not that. But at the end of the day, Imam Muhammad said he maintained. As soon as he ground, he said, no, it is the same. وقد أنكر أبو يوسف هذه الرواية عنه ورويت لك عن أبي حنيفة أنه يلزم قضاء ركعتين. So the last scenario where he recited in the first, what was it? In one of the first two rakats and in one of the two second rakats, right? We told you the kitab says you have to make qadha of both and we gave you the reasoning. So Imam Yusuf said, no. Yeah, Imam Hanifa said you must only make qadha of two. In other words, he's saying, Imam Yusuf saying Imam Hanifa is with him because Imam Yusuf said must only read two. So see, وقد أنكر أبو يوسف هذه رواية عنه. Imam Abu Yusuf, he did not accept this riwayat of Imam Hanifa from Imam Muhammad. He's telling Imam Muhammad, you're wrong. And that's why Imam Hanifa is with me. You have to make only qadha of two, not make qadha of four. Right? That's what he's saying. It's a nice question for the exams to ask. وَقَدْ أَنْكَرَ Abu Yusuf. Imam Abu Yusuf rejected this riwayat عنه from Imam Hanifa. وقال, and he says, قد رويت لك عن أبي حنيفة أنه يلزم. You got any حركة رويته? What's it? رويت? حركة. He said, I've narrated for you. رويت لك. I've narrated for you from Imam Abu Hanifa أنه يلزم قضاء ركعتين. That according to Hanifa, you must only make two rakats, not four. He's with me, not with you. Well, Muhammad lam yarji an riwayat, but Imam Muhammad didn't accept. He said, no, remember the usul of Imam Hanifa was that even if you never make kirat, the tahrima is still valid. So if the tahrima is valid in the first shufa, is valid in the second shufa. So it was valid in both shufas. Hence, four rakats you have to make qadha. So he did not retract. Imam Muhammad did not recanter to what Imam Yusuf said, but he stood his ground because the way he explained Imam Hanifa's opinion was in line with the usul of Imam Hanifa. You understood that? Okay, so that brings that. Was a bit of a, wasn't difficult, it was just laborious. So that discussion is almost over. Tomorrow, inshallah, we'll start a new, nice, interesting discussion about what salat you can read and sit with the excuse, what you can't read, with excuse, when you can stand, etc. That will be tomorrow.